The text arrived at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I was reviewing financial reports for the Federal Reserve's blockchain security initiative when my phone buzzed with my sister's message. Family meeting at your place. 10 a.m. Don't be late. We have big news. Party popper. I stared at the message from my phone, then at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse apartment overlooking the city's financial district. 28 floors up, 3,200 square feet of carefully curated space that I'd purchased 3 years ago for $4.8 million in cash. My younger sister Vanessa had never visited. None of my family had. They thought I rented a studio apartment somewhere in the suburbs, doing something with banks, that paid maybe $70,000 a year. They had no idea I was the chief digital security architect for the Federal Reserve's digital currency division, with a salary of $380,000 annually, plus stock options and consulting fees that brought my total compensation to nearly $600,000. At 9:45 a.m. my doorbell rang. I opened it to find not just Vanessa, but my entire family. My parents, my brother Marcus, his wife Jennifer, and their 2 teenage sons. Behind them I could see a moving truck parked illegally in the luxury building's loading zone. Surprise! Vanessa sang out, pushing past me into the apartment. Oh my God, this place is gorgeous. When did you move here? My mother followed, her eyes widening as she took in the marble floors, the designer furniture, the original artwork I'd collected. Rachel, what is all this? Hi, home, I said quietly, closing the door. You're home. Marcus laughed, walking over to the windows. How are you affording this? This building is one of the most expensive in the city. My father examined the custom built-ins in my living room. You must be renting from someone wealthy. Who's the owner? I am, I said. The silence was sudden and complete. You're lying, Vanessa said flatly. There's no way you can afford this. What is this place worth, like $5 million? 4.8, I corrected. I paid cash 3 years ago. Jennifer laughed nervously. She's joking. She must be house-sitting or something. I'm not joking, I said. I purchased this penthouse with my own money. Now what's this about a family meeting? Vanessa's expression shifted from confusion to determination. Right. That's actually why we're here. We had a family meeting last week, without you obviously, and we've made a decision about your living situation. My living situation, I repeated. Marcus and Jennifer need to move, Mom explained, settling onto my Italian leather sofa as if she owned it. Their lease is up and rent prices are insane. We decided the best solution is for everyone to live together. Everyone, I said slowly. The family voted, Vanessa announced, pulling out her phone to read from notes. This apartment, well, we thought it was someone else's apartment you were staying in, will become our family home. Marcus, Jennifer, and the boys take the master bedroom. Mom and Dad get the second bedroom. You and I will share the third bedroom. I looked at my family, who'd arranged themselves comfortably throughout my living room. My brother was already examining my wine collection. My nephews were poking at my high-end sound system. My father had made himself at home in my reading chair. And what about the actual owner of this apartment? I asked, curious to see how far they'd take this. We'll negotiate with them, Dad said confidently. Once they understand it's a family situation, they'll be reasonable about rent. We've budgeted $3,000 monthly total. Split 6 ways, that's $500 each. $500, I said. For a $4.8 million penthouse. It's a fair price for family, Mom insisted. Whoever owns this should be grateful for reliable tenants. Vanessa continued reading from her phone. We've established house rules. Shared kitchen duties, rotating bathroom schedules, quiet hours after 9 p.m. You'll need to clear out most of your personal items. We need space for everyone's belongings. The moving truck downstairs has all of Marcus's furniture. You brought a moving truck, I said. We're moving in today, Marcus confirmed. The movers are waiting for the signal. We figured we'd tell you first, but honestly, this isn't really your decision. The family has voted. I walked to my home office, opened my safe, and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents I'd hoped I'd never need to show my family. Property deed. Federal employment contract. Banking authority credentials. And most importantly, the federal asset protection lien that classified my home as a secured facility due to the classified work I sometimes conducted here. When I returned to the living room, Vanessa was measuring my walls. We'll need to repaint. This gray is too dark. Something lighter, more family-friendly. Before you repaint, I said calmly, you might want to look at these documents. I spread them across my glass coffee table. My family gathered around, confusion morphing into shock as they began reading. The property deed came first. My name, purchased for $4,800,000, owned outright with no mortgage. This is fake, Vanessa said immediately. There's no way. It's recorded with the city registrar. I interrupted. You can verify it yourself. Public record. Marcus grabbed the next document. My employment contract with the Federal Reserve. Chief Digital Security Architect? What does that even mean? It means I design and implement security protocols for the Federal Reserve's digital currency infrastructure, I explained. I manage a team of 42 engineers. I hold top-secret security clearance, and I make $380,000 annually before bonuses and stock options. My mother's face had gone pale. That's not possible. You said you did data entry. I never said that, I corrected gently. You assumed and I never corrected you. You never asked about my actual job. You never visited my workplace. You never wondered how I could afford tailored suits and international consulting trips. Jennifer picked up the banking authority document. What is this? That's my credential as an authorized banking officer for federal financial security operations, I said. It allows me to make certain decisions regarding financial asset protection. So what? Vanessa snapped. You have a fancy job. That doesn't change the fact that we need a place to live and you have all this space. Actually, I said, pulling out the final document, it changes everything. This is a federal asset protection lien. The document was impressive. Multiple pages, federal seals, signatures from officials at the Department of Treasury and the Federal Reserve. My father, who'd worked in insurance for 30 years, understood immediately. His face went gray. What does that mean? Marcus demanded. It means, my father said slowly, that her property is classified as a federal protected asset. Because I occasionally work from home on classified projects, I explained, my penthouse is registered as a secure facility. The federal government has placed a lien on the property protecting it from seizure, unauthorized access, or any encumbrance that could compromise national financial security operations. In English, Vanessa demanded. In English, you can't move in. You can't claim shared ownership. You can't even be here without my explicit permission as the authorized resident. Any attempt to forcibly occupy this space or claim unauthorized residency is a federal offense. The silence was deafening. You're bluffing, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. I picked up my phone and called a number I had on speed dial. Hi, Agent Morrison here. I need to report an attempted unauthorized access to a federally protected residence. I paused. No actual breach yet. Just family members who don't understand the classification status. Could I speak with Director Walsh? Yes, I'll hold. Wait, Dad said quickly. Rachel, hang up. Why? I asked. You've brought a moving truck to forcibly occupy a federal secured facility. You've announced plans to claim unauthorized residency. You've entered without understanding that every room has security cameras that feed directly to Federal Reserve security. Should I continue the call? Mom stood up shakily. We didn't know. We thought. You thought I was nobody, I said, ending the call. You thought I was the family failure who'd be grateful for your presence. You never asked about my life because you assumed it wasn't worth asking about. Vanessa's face had turned red. This is insane. You can't just hide behind federal protection because you don't want to help family. Help family. I repeated. Let me show you something else. I pulled up my banking records on my tablet. See these transactions? For the last 6 years I've been sending Mom and Dad $2,000 monthly. I told them it was from a small side business so they wouldn't feel bad accepting it. That's $144,000 total. My parents looked at each other, then at the floor. And here, I continued, scrolling further, is the $35,000 I gave Marcus 3 years ago for his business startup that failed in 6 months. And the $15,000 I gave you, Vanessa, for your wedding. And the $8,000 for the boys' summer camp. And the $12,000 when Dad's car broke down. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. We thought you were just getting by. You thought what you wanted to think, I said. It was easier to see me as the struggling older sister than to acknowledge I might have built something significant. Because that would mean confronting how you treated me. Jennifer, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. We genuinely need a place to live. The rental market is impossible right now. I understand that, I said. But your solution was to vote among yourselves to take my home. Not ask me. Not discuss options. You showed up with a moving truck and announced you were moving in. What were we supposed to do? Vanessa demanded. You have all this space. You were supposed to treat me like an autonomous human being with rights to my own property, I said quietly. You were supposed to ask, not demand. You were supposed to consider that maybe, just maybe, I earned this through years of education, hard work, and sacrifices you never bothered to learn about. My father finally spoke. What do you want us to do? I want you to call off the movers, I said. I want you to leave my home. And I want you to understand that you don't get to vote on my life. And then what? Mom asked. We just figure it out on our own? The way I did, I replied. I put myself through graduate school working 3 jobs. I built my career without family support because you were too busy supporting Marcus's ventures and Vanessa's lifestyle. You assumed I was fine because I never complained. I was fine, but not because of you. Marcus slumped on the couch. We can't afford most apartments in this city. Then you'll need to look outside the city, I said. Or find roommates who aren't me. Or adjust your lifestyle to match your actual income. You're really not going to help us? Vanessa asked, her voice sharp with accusation. I've been helping you for years, I said. You just didn't recognize it because the help didn't come with the performative struggle you expected from me. The difference is I helped because I chose to. You tried to take because you felt entitled. Agent Walsh from Federal Reserve Security called me back. Ms. Morrison? Everything all right? Yes, I said, looking at my family. False alarm. Just some visitors who didn't understand the property classification. They're leaving now. Understood. Just for the record, we did flag unusual activity at your building's entrance. Multiple individuals accessing the secure residential floors. We were about to send a unit. That won't be necessary, I assured him. But thank you for the vigilance. After I hung up, my mother tried one more time. Rachel, please. We're family. Family respects boundaries, I said. Family asks before assuming. Family doesn't show up with moving trucks and demand to occupy someone's home. You taught me that, actually, just not in the way you intended. One by one they left. Vanessa was last, pausing at the door. You've changed. No, I said. I finally stopped letting you pretend I hadn't. Over the following weeks, the consequences unfolded predictably. Marcus and Jennifer found an apartment 45 minutes outside the city, twice their commute, half the space they wanted. They blamed me publicly on social media until their friends pointed out they'd tried to steal someone's home. Vanessa stopped speaking to me entirely, which she framed as punishment but which I experienced as relief. My parents called once asking if I'd reconsider. When I said no, my father asked if I'd at least keep sending the monthly checks. I said I'd think about it. I'm still thinking. My building's management called to verify the federal protection status. When I provided the documentation, they upgraded my security clearance and assigned me a dedicated parking spot. They apologized for allowing unauthorized visitors to reach my floor. I changed my door code and updated my emergency contacts to include only colleagues and friends who'd actually earned the designation. Director Walsh invited me to brief the Treasury Department on residential security protocols for federal employees handling classified work. My presentation led to a new program protecting financial security professionals. I received a commendation and a $50,000 bonus. 3 months later, I received a letter from Marcus. Not an apology, that would require acknowledging what they'd done wrong, but a rambling explanation about family misunderstandings and different communication styles. He mentioned casually that Jennifer had asked about my work and seemed impressed. He included their new address, presumably in case I wanted to visit. I filed the letter away and returned to work on the Fed's next-generation security architecture. My penthouse has never felt lonely. It's filled with work I'm passionate about, books I actually have time to read, and the peace that comes from boundaries that are finally firmly established. They thought they could vote their way into my home because they'd spent years voting me into insignificance. They learned that all those years I was quiet. I was building something they couldn't touch, couldn't claim, and couldn't diminish. The federal lien protection was real, documented, and absolute. But more importantly, so was my refusal to be small anymore. They wanted shared property. They got a lesson in federal law, personal boundaries, and the consequences of treating someone like they didn't matter. The moving truck left empty. My home remained mine. And the family vote was overruled by something much more powerful. Documentation of ownership, federal protection, and the simple fact that I'd stopped asking for permission to take up space. They didn't know about the federal lien protection. But they should have known better than to assume they could take what was never theirs to claim.